Deputy Wallace, 30 seconds.
Thanks, Cola. Minister, there are many regulators in Ireland, and most, including, for example, GSOC, the Competition Authority and the Food Safety Authority, provide clear ways to track enforcement on reports. There are now a wide range of issues that the Data Protection Commission appears to have looked into in one form or another, yet there is no clear record of reports or enforcement actions that are easily accessible. Minister, if the DPC will not publish the full final report of the investigation into the Public Services Card, will you commit to publishing it, irrespective of the outcome of the report?
Minister.
Thanks, Deputy Wallace. I'm going to tell you now how to suck eggs by telling you the purpose of the Safe2 registration process is to verify, without doubt, or identify a substantial level of assurance with regard to somebody's identification. And I think it's a necessary step when we're providing access to the billions of euros that obviously the Department of Social Protection is in charge of responsibly giving to people through all of our schemes. The Public Services Card is only issued as a result of somebody going through that Safe2 standard process. And in addition to acting as a token to their identity has been verified during Safe2, the possession of a PSC card enables individuals to gain access to an awful lot of other public services, for example free travel, more efficiently and with minimum duplication and effort, whilst at the same time preserving their privacy to a maximum extent possible. Preliminary results from a recent customer survey carried out on the PSC have been actually quite positive, with very high levels of satisfaction in terms of the process for applying and the actual resulting PSC, their level of understanding and the purpose of Safe2, the PSC process, and the information provided to it, applications, are all being very well received and disposed to. People also expressed a strong support for the sharing of the information between public bodies because it makes life easier, which is exactly what we were trying to achieve in the first instance. And I'll have full results of that survey hopefully next week, and I hope you'll all join me in welcoming, I suppose, the positive results. But the question you've asked me is that the Data Protection Commission initiated an investigation to assess the legal basis for the processing of the data in connection with our PSC and other related matters in 2017. And the DPC provided a draft report to the PSC to my department in late August of last year, 2018. The draft report requested further information and clarifications from ourselves on a broad range of areas. But, and this is the big but, the DPC specifically instructed that we were not to discuss or disclose the draft report to any other party, and we will respect that. So I can't give you an indication that I will publish the report, but I genuinely have no doubt that when the DPC replies to us, that they will publish the report. And if they don't, the only thing I can suggest at that stage is that I go and seek permission if it's appropriate. But I'm not in a position to give you the assurances that the report will be issued, because I've been instructed specifically, or my department has, that we're not to discuss or disclose the draft report. And so I have to do what I'm told.
Deputy Wallace's first supplementary.
Well, Minister, we will hope that in the interest of transparency, that when the report is eventually available, that you will publish it. Transparency certainly helps. It is amazing that the Department's response to the DPC inquiry would, at this late stage in the history of the card's rollout, require such a protracted extended defence. This is the largest data sharing project in the history of the state, which is, I think it's cost around 60 million so far. And you haven't halted the rollout of the card pending investigation, and your department has had to write the equivalent of a PhD thesis to defend itself after the horse has already well and truly bolted. And yet the public are not, it looks like they're not going to get a good look at the terms of the DPC's investigation. Listen to what you're saying. Now, Minister, you're arguing about the merits of it, and we're actually not arguing against that, but we're arguing about the issue of consent. And if people consent to it, that's grand. And yes, it involves efficiency, but you can't force them to consent, is our argument anyway.
Okay, Minister, to respond.
To answer the two questions, we got the report from the DPC in August. We provided a comprehensive response back to the Data Protection Commission's office on the 30th of November, and we await their response back to our response since November. As I said to you, the publication of the report is entirely a matter now for the DPC, given that they have given us clear instructions that we are not to discuss or disclose their draft report to us. And I mean, I'd be I'd have the legs cut off me if I was to do something, particularly in light of the investigation around the sensitivity of this with relation to not doing what I've been asked of by the DPC. But again, I'll have to refer you back to what you've just said. We don't make anybody get a PSE card. If you don't want to get one and you don't want to go through the Safe 2 process, well then you don't. But 3.2 million people in the country have gone through it, and the satisfaction survey that we've got has given us incredibly positive responses, right? But as you rightly so or say, maybe the response from the DPC might come back with something different. But whatever the response comes back with, either you or I will have to accept the outcome, depending on whatever point of view we share or don't share with the DPC at that time.
Question supplementary from the Deputy.
You're saying it's optional then, but has there been payments withheld from anyone who hasn't got a card? Absolutely not, no. I mean, obviously, one of the main problems of the card, from our point of view, is that the aim of the card and of the Safe 2 registration process is not limited to verification. The aim is also, as I said, to coerce consent to data sharing. Maybe you're denying it now, but Section 2626 of the Social Welfare Consolidation Act states that where a specified body has a transaction with a person, the Minister may share the person's public service identity with the specified body to the extent necessary for authentication by the specific body of the person's public service identity. And the same section says a person's public service identity may be used by a specified body in performing its public functions. The may here is obviously significant. Yes, it permits data sharing, but it doesn't require it or demand it. Data sharing is not an inevitable consequence of the verification of a person's identity. Section 247C1 also makes it clear that the purpose of the verification process describes it as, quote, to satisfy the minister as to his or her identity. I mean, once the person's identity has been verified, once the minister is satisfied as to the person's identity, there shouldn't be any legal basis for any more processing of that person's data unless they have obtained the person's consent. I mean, am I aware, is our take-up wrong, Minister?
I don't know, but all I do know is that we don't make anybody go through the Safe 2 authentication process. And with the exception of one lady, who the issue was resolved very quickly after I came into the department, we've never withheld a payment because somebody doesn't have or have gone through the Safe 2 authentication process. That's not the purpose of it. It isn't a control measure in the way that you're describing, and it certainly isn't coercive. And with respect, Deputy, we have 3.2 million people in this country, Irish people, who have PSE cards resulting from gone through the Safe 2 process, and none of them have broken legs. You know, we didn't coerce anybody, and there's nobody being made to do anything. But what I'm saying to you is that we've replied to the concerns that were raised with the DPC with us last August. We replied in November, and we await their response back to us as to what they think of our reply. And I can't tell you what's going to come out of that because I don't know until they come back to me.
Thank you, Minister. We now